pessoal, queria primeiramente agradecer a presença de todos vocês aqui. Hoje nós temos a palestra do José Perez. O José é formado em Political Sciences and International Relations pela Universidade da Flórida. E ele é ETA aqui, quer dizer que ele é um English Teaching Assistant. Ele ajuda a gente no programa Inglês Sem Fronteiras, Idiomas Sem Fronteiras. E hoje então, ele vai falar com vocês sobre o cinema americano, tá certo?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? If I say anything too fast, or if I say anything that you don't understand, please feel free to raise your hand, and I can try my best to explain. Yes, I will. So, as Anna said, my name is Jose, and I am one of the ETAs here at Movies. Today's presentation is titled Hollywood in a New Century, Changes in the U.S. Cinematographic Industry. So we will be first going over a little bit of history, and then we will be talking about current trends before going into questions. So a little bit of history. The U.S. cinematographic industry originated around Hollywood around 1910. The reason for that is because Southern California had the ideal climate to film movies because there's a cloudless sky, so it's easier to develop the films that movies were originally produced on. And also within an hour's drive of Hollywood, you have mountains, desert, jungle, and everything that you could possibly want to film a movie around. So that is why they chose Hollywood instead of New York or any other city in the US. The industry really got its big break around World War II because the US government started paying for a lot of film production and propaganda production during the war. And so this led to what is known as the golden age of Hollywood. So all of the big names that you guys would recognize, Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, etc., all of those people got their start around World War II in the propaganda industry that sprung up around the war. And after that, since World War II, movies became an essential part of U.S. life and culture. And today, box office sales in the U.S. were $10 billion last year. Eric looks surprised. So the marriage that happened between the U.S. film industry and the U.S. government during World War II was very difficult to divorce after World War II. This political marriage continued through the Cold War because the United States government realized the political potential of Hollywood. You know, what was filmed in Hollywood was shown in theaters around the world, and that the U.S. government realized would be an important tool for them during the Cold War. So what ended up happening was that the U.S. movie industry, purposely with the backing of the government, created and portrayed an image to the rest of the world of what we could say is the best of U.S. society. So the image that was portrayed to the world was a glamorous United States, a rich United States, where everybody was pretty and blonde, etc. So, do you guys know who this woman is?
Yeah.
Sure.
Who? Marilyn Monroe. Correct. I'll give everybody a moment to sit down. You guys know who this woman is?
Yeah.
Who?
Garland.
Marilyn Monroe. Yes. Marilyn Monroe was actually not blonde. That might be shocking to a lot of you. The image that Hollywood purposely constructed of the American people is that they all had to be white and pretty and blonde with light eyes. And that image, as we know, looking at me, is not very true. Is not very correct. Even Marilyn Monroe herself had to dye her hair to fit the standards of what Hollywood wanted to present to the rest of the world. And so with that said, the image of the US that was given to the rest of the world was this idealized image that the third world needed to emulate and to revere. And the consequence to that is that the way that the third world, specifically Latin America, was portrayed in US films during this era was brutal, stereotypical, reductionist, racist, any other word that you could think of. So, for instance, when we look at a character like Carmen Miranda, she was, I mean, being in movies was great for her. She made millions of dollars and had a grand old time. But the resulting effect that that had for Latin America in general was that the people who viewed those films that Carmen Miranda's in walked away with a racist image of what Latin America was. And so, the outcome of this then is that when the United States intervenes in the domestic politics of Latin American countries, during the Goulart administration here in Brazil, during the Allende administration in Chile, in Nicaragua, in Cuba, etc., the US government does not need to rationalize that to the US people, because the US people have already been predisposed through films and through the portrayal of people like Carmen Miranda to understand why the US government needs to intervene in these other countries, to help them choose better leaders, to use the words of a certain US Congress member. So whenever you look at these films from the 40s and 30s, whenever they portray a person from Latin America, it is always in a stereotypical manner. They have very few speaking parts. They always speak with an accent or in broken English. They're always dancing or overly sexualized. There's an entire movie where Carmen Miranda, her entire speaking part is, "I like money." That's all she says throughout the movie. And this is one of the movies that she's best known for. That's a little ridiculous. I Love Lucy's husband, he was supposed to be a Cuban man. His stereotypical character was that he got angry all of the time with her. These aren't very good portrayals. This did not leave Latin America in a good light. So like I said, depictions of the third world were always done in a stereotypical way in US movies throughout this era. And when we look at depictions of other minorities, such as African Americans and Native Americans on the big screen, they're equally as racist as the depictions of people from other countries. Whenever you see minorities depicted on screen, it's always with exaggerated racial features. They're always in servant roles or impoverished, also sexualized. They speak in broken English, etc. I hate Disney. Brazilian people love Disney. Whenever I say I'm from Florida, everybody's like, Disney. No. I hate Disney. If you look at any Disney film from this period, it is chock full of racism and stereotypical imagery whenever they show a black person or a person from Latin America. Aquarela do Brasil, as I'm sure most of you are familiar with, is full of nothing but racist portrayals of Brazil. The Donald Duck comes to Latin America and all he wants to do is party with Zé Carioca and drink cachaça and all that Zé Carioca wants to do is drink cachaça and dance samba. And so then when US corporations or when US tourists come to Brazil and they have that expectation, that doesn't come out of anywhere. That's because that's what they saw in films and what they were led to believe was the only thing that Brazil and Latin America had to offer. So this is the way that Hollywood emerged and the way that the Cold War and World War II shaped how Hollywood portrayed the rest of the world and the effects that it had. Now, going from that, we have emerging trends in Hollywood. So one of the biggest things that has happened is that the U.S. movie-going audience the U.S. movie-going audience has only grown by 2% a year for the past couple of years. However, the international movie-going audience has grown by about 27%. And the majority of this growth has actually come from Asian markets. And so what has happened as an effect of that is that US movie producers have tailored movies to a more global audience, because that is where the money is coming from. So, for instance, a movie like The Lone Ranger, that in the US did horribly. It made very, very little money. Everybody thought that it was a very racist movie where you had a white man playing a Native American. Everybody thought that it was a reductionist movie that did a very poor job of showing Native American history. In Asia and in foreign markets, the movie did great, made millions of dollars, everybody loved it. And what Hollywood has come to realize is that you need to make movies with familiar, sometimes stereotypical characters. You know, the old Western, the cowboy, everybody is familiar with that. You can't come up with new movies and new personalities because that's not going to be very popular in the overseas market. You need to show reductionist characters that everybody is familiar with. You need to show big, showy effects and very little witty dialogue because that does not translate well. So you need to tailor the movie to the audience instead of tailoring the movie to the art form that you want to make it. So this is having big ramifications in the way that movies are produced. And you guys can constantly see it every time that you go to the box office. In fact, if we take out the growth in 3D movie viewership in the United States, the US movie-going audience has shrunk over the past few years. So the majority of growth for US moviegoers has actually come in people going to see 3D movies. So this is kind of laying the foundation for the next generation of how movies will be made and how they will be presented to audiences. People will expect a more high-tech experience. They will not just expect, you know, going and sitting in a chair and watching a movie. They will expect the 3D, the graphics, maybe the four walls of the movie, something like that. Does anybody have any questions thus far? Am I speaking too fast? No. Okay. So, going back to my first point, the movie has become more global in order to fit the more global audience that Hollywood now has. And because of that, Hollywood has also come to rely on the blockbuster. You know, before in the 1940s and 50s, the average movie studio made 20, 30, 40 movies a year, and they expected to make, you know, have half of them do well, have half of them do so-so, and then that was their money for the year. Nowadays, what they're doing is that they're producing less films a year, but they're sinking all of their money into those films. And so it's very important for the film industry that those movies be successful because they're the only ones that they're making. And so, you know, this is why you have so many, oh, blah, blah, blah movie part 7, blah, blah, blah movie the 8th installment. Because you want to sink all of your money into a movie that's full of familiar characters that people are going to want to go see because they're already familiar with the history of it. And so when people go, they're going to see big showy effects, and then they're going to be more likely to come back next year to see the next version of it. So that's why, you know, the little like independent movies and the movies with amazing stories that look at unique angles of society, that's not that common for the big Hollywood movies studios because that's not going to bring in the big dollars for them. They need the big showy blockbuster, you know, the Avengers 3, the Transformers 7. And so, like I said, in 1940, nearly 80% of US households went to the movie every week. Nowadays, it's only about 5%. So with that, Hollywood studios have had to react by cutting down on the number of movies they produce. And so the side effect of that is that they plunge all of their money into a few movies a year, and all of their marketing power also into a few movies a year. So that's why you know, I always hear people saying, like, whenever I go to the movies, it's like, I'm watching the same thing over and over again. Well, and the reason for all of this is pirating. Nobody has to pay to watch movies anymore. So it's kind of a, like, double-edged sword of, you know, in the 21st century, we can pirate any movie and watch it from the comfort of our own home for free. But this is also destroying the industry because they're having to cut back on production and resort to producing very reductionist films. So think about that next time that you're watching something illegal. Another one of the major side effects of pirating and the cutback in movie production is that this has taken a huge toll on a lot of industries that survived because of piracy. So the makeup industry, a lot of painters and artists and sculptors, antique dressmakers, stagecraft people, a lot of theatrical people that like they survived and their art form survived because of the Hollywood movie. They're all being replaced by computer graphic animators because that's cheaper for the studio producers. So this is eliminating not only a lot of jobs, but an entire like niche and craft industry that exists in Hollywood, where a lot of people we can move to Hollywood and find a job in my art field because of the movies. That's not possible anymore. And so it's also ironic, because of the increased cost, Hollywood has become too expensive even for Hollywood. So a lot of people have moved their productions outside of Hollywood to places like Vancouver, London, Baltimore, etc. The hit show House of Cards, which takes place in Washington, D.C., is actually all filmed in Baltimore, Maryland. And most of the movies nowadays are not filmed in Hollywood anymore. And the last current emerging trend is the luxury movie experience. So as people go to the movies less, and movie tickets increase in price, when you do actually go to the movies, you're expecting a more luxurious experience than you did before. So now a lot of cinemas are changing. I was shocked when I was a student and I studied abroad in places like Brazil, and I would go to the movies, and I'd be like, wow, your movie theaters are so much nicer than ours. And that kind of grandiose movie theater did not exist in the US until recently. With decreased viewership, going to the movies has really become a luxury in the US. So a lot of people are rebuilding US movie studios or movie theaters to look more like what foreign movie theaters have always looked like. So now you have the Regal Cinema, reclining seats, and all these kinds of things that did not exist in US movie theaters until long ago. Most movie theaters in the US looked like this auditorium. I remember when I was growing up, but now they're starting to look more like, the luxurious Brazilian movie theater where you have to pick your seat, and it's a very complex ordeal. So just to recap, when we look at a movie like Lincoln, that has a very specific story that, in order to understand, you need to have an intricate knowledge of US culture and history, and a movie that requires a lot of art, and a movie that requires a lot of not special effects, but a movie that requires a lot of people on the ground in order to film it properly, and a movie that requires an intricate dialogue to follow the way that Abraham Lincoln actually spoke, because he spoke in a very poetic way. Those movies are not easy for Hollywood to film, because they know that they're not going to do well on the global market, because the movie isn't going to translate well, and people aren't going to understand it. But then when we look at the Avengers Part 90, that movie Hollywood wants to produce, because everybody overseas is going to understand it. Even if it doesn't translate well, you have enough showy special effects, people are going to want to watch it, and it's going to make a killing. As opposed to a movie like Lincoln, it'll be well received, you'll win awards, everybody will think it's a theatrical masterpiece, but you're not going to make a lot of money outside of the US. Any questions? Brazilian audiences are always great, you never have questions. American audiences, I would have been interrupted by now by 5 times with an annoying question that had nothing to do with the presentation. I am not joking. So moving away from current trends, Hollywood, I need you to understand, has always been very, very political. From its start, President Roosevelt, during the 1940s, used to have movie actors campaign on his behalf. President Kennedy used to campaign with Frank Sinatra. President Obama is notorious for campaigning with Beyonce and Jay-Z and Oprah. Oprah looks a little creepy in this photo. She actually donated, I think it was $100 million during the 2008 campaign. She paid for all of the gasoline in President Obama's airplane during the campaign because she wanted him to win. Eric and Heather can't answer this, but do you guys know who this man is? Who? Yes, that is President Ronald Reagan. President Reagan was an actor. He started his career as an actor, and then he became a crazy politician. So Hollywood has always been very, very political, and still is. However, a lot of people in the US always criticize Hollywood for being biased towards the Democratic Party. When you look at the beginning of the industry, the majority of people who started movie producing businesses and cinemas were Jewish. And in the US, Jewish people tend to vote Democrat. So from its beginning, people have always judged movies as being biased towards the Democratic Party. And the majority of actors are also Democrats. However, Hollywood is very important because Hollywood actors donate millions of dollars every year to both political parties and to a lot of candidates. And they also raise a lot of awareness for a lot of social issues, such as LGBTQ rights, poverty and war and famine around the world, etc. So they're highly criticized by a lot of people, Angelina Jolie and those folks for being biased towards the Democratic Party, but they also donate a lot of money for a lot of social causes. So, as I said at the beginning, when we look at the Hollywood of the 1940s and post-World War II and the Cold War Hollywood, it was full of these brutal depictions of people from Latin America and around the world. However, since the 1960s, there has been a huge wave of immigration from Latin America to the United States. Nowadays, 17% of the US population is Hispanic. And since the 60s, we've also had, the African American rights movement, the women's rights movement, the gay rights movement. So these stereotypical depictions and racist things in Hollywood movies aren't as well received by the American people anymore as they would have been in the 1940s or 50s. And so there has been this huge push among social activists and from US society in the last decade or so that they want to see a more diverse Hollywood, that they want what they see on TV to reflect the reality of how the United States looks and of how the United States is nowadays. So there has been a huge demand for this. And also, in 2014, Hispanics were the largest movie-going audience in the US. They accounted for 24% of box office sales, even though they were only, 32% of box office sales, even though they were only 17% of the population. And so when the majority of your audience is Hispanic, they're not going to go see your movies or your TV shows if you're showing them on there in a racist way. So you have to change the way that you do things. So when we look at, American movies and American TVs in the last decade, it's really changed. When you look at shows like The Mindy Project, you have an Indian woman as the lead on the show. When you look at a show like Modern Family, you have a Hispanic woman playing the mother. You have a gay family. You have a divorced father. You have things that would have never been shown on the big screen or in TV shows 10 years ago. The Larry Wilmore is the first black man to have his own late night comedy talk show and news show. These are big changes.
That's why he's black.
So in the United States, he is black. In Brazil, he is not black. Which that is a whole nother question and presentation of how race is viewed in the United States and how it's raised and how it's viewed in Brazil. In Brazil, I had an anthropology teacher once describe it as, if there is one drop of white in you, you are not black, you are something else. In the US, if there is one drop of black in you, you are not white, you are black. So in the US, he is black. President Obama is also black. In my country, he would be black. So, however, returning to Modern Family, the wife on Modern Family, her name is Gloria. There are still a lot of people that are like, yes, so Gloria is the lead role on the TV show, and she's a Hispanic woman, and she's a strong woman. But Gloria speaks in broken English, she's a housewife, and she's always angry, and she's always depicted as being sexy and beautiful. How different is Gloria from Carmen Miranda? So there are still a lot of people in the US that will tell you, the industry is becoming more diverse, and it's getting better about how it portrays Hispanics and minorities and people from other countries, but it's still very racist in many ways. And when we look at Gloria, it shows us how far we've come, but how far we still need to go. In 2014, 10% of lead roles in movies were given to minorities, and this was a historic high. 50% of all shows now on TV have at least a 10% minority audience, also a historic high. However, women were only 4% of movie directors last year. So Hollywood has, to a certain extent, answered the call to become more diverse, but still has a very long way to go. And what I think is most emblematic of this is when we look at the 2015 Oscars controversy. Every single nominee for Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Supporting Actress was white. And there was not a shortage of good movies and good actors and good quality films that were performed and that were directed by people of color. Hollywood and the Academy, I don't want to use the word purposefully, but in a way excluded all of these people from getting the Oscars top nominations. The movie Selma, which was nominated for Best Movie, the people in it were not nominated for Best Actor or Best Actress or Best Director. So there were no good movies made by African Americans that year. No. Something is happening that made these people be excluded from the top roles. From the top prizes at the Oscars. So, Hollywood has come a long way, but it still has a long way to go towards being truly reflective of US culture and society and what the US is nowadays. However, those blatantly racist and stereotypical depictions that we see in Disney from the 1940s and 50s are not kosher or allowed or tolerated anymore. And so, with that, that is the end of my presentation on the US cinematographic industry in the 21st century. At this point, I will demand questions from the audience.
What about next year for Western musicals?
What do you mean?
For the next year, do we have good movies that could be indicated for the prizes for the Oscar?
There are good movies every year.
Have you seen them?
Well, so the problem is that I'm here, and so there's like a lag of like 3 months between when things come out there and when they are shown here. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but every year there are great movies produced by women and by people of color in the US. The problem is that in order to be nominated for one of those awards, you have to be picked by the Academy. And when we look at the Academy, it's like 100 old white men. So their idea of diversity does not match mine. Anybody else? Yes.
What do you think about the way they portrayed Latin American culture? Do you think that there's a function? Do you think that in that time there was somehow useful for the United States to have, okay, let's portray these people like this, or this is just our perception of them?
I think it's both. So there was, let me see if I can explain this. So you wanted to portray them as being inferior to you because then that justified economic imperialism, and that justified tampering in the domestic politics of Latin American countries, and that justified military interventions and all of the horrible things that the US did during the Cold War. The US carried out 54 military interventions in Latin America during the 20th century alone. So you wanted this in order to justify it to yourself and to your people. But at the same time, when we look at US society at that time, it was extremely racist. Black people could not have certain jobs. They were relegated to living in a certain part of town. Women were not allowed to work. They were all expected to be housewives. So I think that when those people came to Latin America, even if they were shown something that wasn't samba and cachaça and Copacabana, I think that they would have still consciously decided to only see samba and cachaça and Copacabana. So I think it's both.
Hi. So you didn't mention anything about the Netflix effect because it was on the slides and I wanted to know more.
Yes, so House of Cards was on there, and yes, I did mean to mention it. Hollywood and the film industry and the TV industry, they hate Netflix. They hate Netflix like taxi drivers hate Uber drivers. So like Netflix has really revolutionized everything, like because they just looked at the Hollywood industry and said we don't give a damn. So like if you make a TV show, the producer on the TV show puts the majority of the money into the show. So the show is very much guided by what the producer wants. And the producer isn't always the smartest person. You know, they will ignore the writer and the director and the cinematographic people because they don't care, it's their money. However, Netflix, how they do shows is that, you know, we're gonna put them up on the internet, we're gonna release all of them at once, so you can watch every single episode of the season in a single day. So we don't need a marketing staff, we don't need marketing people. We do not need to make a show where halfway through the season, something incredible happens so that people keep watching until the end of the season. We can just do an amazing storyline. And so this has really like annoyed Hollywood because the entire way that their economics work is being able to produce a show that's very much driven by capitalist ideals of, you know, the show needs to, 3 episodes in, something good needs to happen so that people watch the show right before the ratings, right before the 4th episode, and it's this huge thing. And Netflix has really destroyed all of that. And the movie industry is so angry about it. House of Cards was not nominated for any Emmys last year. The movie industry really hates Netflix. House of Cards, which, I mean, I study political science, so I'm a little bit biased, but I think House of Cards is the best TV show since The Sopranos, and it got no Emmy nominations. They're just like, if you people want to revolutionize the TV industry, we are going to make you pay for it. That has been the response. Yeah, that's what that's kind of what's happening. Any other questions from non-ISF teachers? Yes, Felipe.
Don't you think that Disney is making part of this change with films like...
No.
Could you explain?
No, sorry, finish.
With films like Maleficent and Frozen, I think they are changing children's point of view since childhood.
So, a couple of things about that. So, this huge controversy happened last week in Florida. Disney was importing a lot of workers from India on non-work visas and was hiring them at Disney World and was making the US workers train the new employees and then was firing the US workers and was hiring all of these people illegally. I think Disney is very evil. Number 2, when we look at the movies that Disney produces in a way to kind of be more diverse. So for instance, what was the name of that movie where the princess was black and everybody was like, oh wow, like she's the first black Disney princess. Tiana? Tiana doesn't get married at the end. She's the only one that doesn't get married. The guy leaves her. That's a little stereotypical. Number 3, the way that Disney portrays gender, I think, is still very erroneous to children. You know, if you're a girl, you need to be a princess, and you need to be pretty, and you need to make a boy like you in order to be happy. I think that's a very wrong message to send girls. And if you're a girl, you have to be with a boy. That's another thing. So I think Disney still is very, you know, Walt Disney himself was very racist. He did not like black people, he did not like Jewish people. And I think that Disney has still not entirely escaped that legacy of how it was formed and created. Any other questions? Anyone? Yes. Yes, that's you can ask in Portuguese too. I can understand Portuguese. You don't have to ask in English. You can say in
Okay.
Portuguese.
You were talking about Disney, and I'd like to hear from you your comment about Simpson or Family Guy, because Family Guy Simpson are from Fox. Fox is a very conservative channel. So I'd like to talk about it.
Yes, so that's a big misunderstanding, and it's actually kind of ironic if you think about it. So you have Fox News and then you have Fox TV, and they're completely different things. Excuse me, but they're owned by the same person. And when you look at the industry though, like, there are only like 3 companies really, and they own every single channel. So you will have a company that owns MSNBC, and Fox News. MSNBC is the farthest left-wing news channel in the US, and then Fox News is the farthest right-wing one. And they're both owned by the same company. And so this is a big problem, I think, because media, here in Brazil, you have Globo, and Globo, everybody knows where they stand politically. But in the US, the left and the right-wing media are both owned by the same people. And so that it really makes us think about, to what extent is there really free journalism in the US? Or is it just kind of controlled? So Fox News and Fox TV, that's a very good example of that. Fox News is super anti-Obama, but then if you look at the Fox cartoon shows, they're super Democrat and they're always making fun of the Republicans. And that's because they're owned by the same person, and so it's crazy. But the Family Guy Simpsons dynamic, I think, is very interesting, because if you look at both, they show how US society has changed from the 1980s when The Simpsons was made to like 2007 when Family Guy was made. The characters on Family Guy are chubbier, the jokes are less witty, the people are more inappropriate, so it really shows how US society has evolved since the 1980s. Evolved. Anybody else? Alessandro? Yes.
I can speak without a...
They're recording it, so you have to use the microphone. Which is why I have to use the mic.
Sorry. Another question that maybe you're going to say now, but yeah, let's do this. Don't you think that Fox, I think that the changing is part of a process, and so I don't think that we should just, I don't know, maybe just motivate all the changing that is going on, but also we need to realize that it's not enough. But I think that is a great show that is ended now called Glee, and it made a lot of changes with things like transgender and being gay, being black, being fat, and a lot of things that they portrayed in the show. And so I think it's part of Fox. So I don't know, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, like I said, Fox TV is a completely different animal than Fox News. Everybody that works at Fox TV is very left-wing and liberal and socialist, so that's why the TV shows that are produced there are very different than what you see on Fox News. And I think, in my opinion, the industry and everything is changing and is evolving for the best, but it's at a very slow pace. And I think that if we as a society, if we do not push them and demand a faster pace of change, they won't do it organically. It's something that we have to demand for. So that's why I think it's important, and not just in the movie industry. When we look at US society and politics in general, and when we look at what happened yesterday in South Carolina, where a white man went into a church and killed 9 innocent black people, we have to demand changes and we have to demand dialogue, not only in movies, but in every aspect of society. Anybody else? Ninguém mais?
Tentar em português. Eu queria saber o que tu acha sobre a polêmica do Oscar em 2013, quando a Jennifer Lawrence ganhou no lugar da Emanuele Rivar, porque para mim ficou bem claro assim, que é uma questão de esses prêmios tem uma coisa muito política também por trás de como nós vamos dar o prêmio para uma atriz que tem 85 anos e é francesa e é estrangeira, e aqui no Brasil a gente também teve uma atriz que foi nomeada ao Oscar, cantando Montenegro, e não ganhou. E eu queria saber o que tu acha disso, se é uma questão política ou não sei.
Eu acho que tem que ver com a história da indústria e do Hollywood, que é uma história muito racista e que tem muita discriminação. E não é somente nesse caso, tem muitos casos assim. Se a gente vê a história da indústria e dos Oscars, somente tem um ano onde uma pessoa de cor ganhou o Oscar para melhor atriz e melhor ator. Então, é uma indústria completa que precisa que cada vez que esse tipo de coisa aconteça, que a gente e que a sociedade fale e que demande que esse tipo de discriminação não aconteça. Mas o problema é que as pessoas que escolhem os ganhadores, como eu já falei, são sempre velhos brancos dos anos 40 e 50. Então, tem certos tipos de coisa que até que isso mude, a gente vai pode mudar. Agora.
Tem um acréscimo, a contribuição da colega. Teve um ano que a Ellen apresentou os Oscars, não sei se tu lembra, e era o ano que 12 anos de escravidão foi nomeado. E aí no começo do Oscars ela falou assim, hoje vai ter, a gente está, os indicados ao melhor filme também estão 12 anos de escravidão, e se ele não ganhar, significa que nós somos racistas. E aí, 12 anos de escravidão ganhou o melhor filme. Ficou uma coisa bem ambígua. Claro, no tempo eu não tinha pensado nisso, mas por trás desse debate. Então, quanto conscientes eles estão disso mesmo? Quanto eles querem provocar o sol alertar, o sol só chamar atenção?
Sim, essa é uma pergunta difícil, e por isso que eu não gosto de esse tipo de coisa de cotas raciais ou de ação afirmativa, porque então, quando um filme como 12 anos de escravidão, que era um filme ótimo, que era um filme muito bem feito, ganha, então as pessoas respondem, eles ganharam porque então não queriam parecer racistas. E não, isso é um disservice e uma má interpretação ao trabalho de todas as milhares de pessoas que trabalharam para fazer esse filme. E eu acho, mas isso acontece muito, tem muitas pessoas que, por exemplo, também passa muito acontece muito com o presidente Obama, tem muitas pessoas, eu não quero falar que eu não gosto do presidente Obama, porque então as pessoas vão responder que eu sou racista. Mas tem maneiras de falar, eu não gosto do presidente Obama por esta reforma econômica, por esta coisa, por esta outra coisa. E não, eu acho que tem que ver com como você fala das coisas, que você dá a diferença, sabe? Tem que falar das coisas de uma maneira educada, para que as pessoas entendam seu ponto de vista. Mas, é bem difícil, porque eles tentam de ser mais diversos, então eles contratam a pessoas como Ellen DeGeneres, que é uma lésbica para dar os Oscars, mas então ela é uma pessoa branca, então todas as pessoas que ganham são brancas. Então, ainda que eliminamos um tipo de discriminação, ainda temos muitos outros que eles não querem falar ou fazer nada sobre.
Continuando ali que eu estava falando em 1999, o Oscar onde Central do Brasil concorreu com A Vida é Bela, obviamente perdeu, mas naquele mesmo ano venceu Shakespeare Apaixonado e venceu a Kristen Dunst. E o filme é horrível, e ela também. Mas é que ela estava concorrendo com a Fernanda Montenegro e com a Kate Blanchett, então é impossível pensar que a Kristen Dunst tenha vencido assim. Só que Shakespeare Apaixonado é da Miramax, é do Whitman, já não lembro o nome do magnata da Miramax. E nesse último Oscar agora, tem uma mudança muito grande de 1999 para agora, onde mesmo a Oprah ela deu para ver que ela ficou incomodada com o que aconteceu sobre o caso do Selma, e parece que foi uma guerra, assim. Tanto que o Oscar saiu um pouco do padrão e filmes que eu não esperava que ganhassem, ganharam. Eu errei quase todos, eu sempre faço bolão. E o que é que pode ter dado assim, toda essa diferença? Porque tem muita diferença, onde antes a máfia do cinema hollywoodiano mandava, hoje tá perdendo esse protagonismo, assim, perdendo essa força.
Sim, é interessante. Quando esses Oscars no 2015 aconteceram e tivemos toda essa controvérsia com Selma, era depois de um período de muita ansiedade racial nos Estados Unidos, porque tivemos os problemas em Ferguson e tudo o que aconteceu em Baltimore, e isso abriu um diálogo nos Estados Unidos muito forte entre as pessoas. Eu acho que dividiu as pessoas, entre os que acharam que pessoas afro-americanas tomando as ruas e fazendo protesta violenta era uma boa maneira de expressar sua frustração, e tinha outras pessoas que falaram que isso não se deveria fazer. Então, o que aconteceu durante os Oscars era que todos os atores de Selma, eles, durante sua performance musical, todos eles fizeram assim com os braços, que era em homenagem ao homem afro-americano nos Estados Unidos, que tinha os braços assim e que ainda foi baleado pela polícia. E todo mundo achou isso, a academia, todas as pessoas velhas da academia, estavam falando que isso era uma falta de respeito para a academia. Tentar de fazer uma coisa tão polêmica e tão política no meio dos Oscars. Então, de certa parte, tem que eles estão perdendo essa dominação de máfia que eles têm, mas ainda precisam fazer muitas mais mudanças. Por exemplo, todos os filmes estrangeiros, todos os filmes de mais de mundo, toda a indústria cinematográfica global, são todos tirados numa categoria, melhor filme estrangeiro, porque eles não podem participar e ser considerado para as demais categorias. Isso em si ensina muito da discriminação e da ideologia antiga que eles têm, para como eles escolhem quem vai ganhar e quem vai ser dominado durante o processo.
Eu fiquei curiosa para saber sobre a representação dos europeus atualmente, porque antigamente eles também não eram dublados, assim, quando, por exemplo, certos filmes entre os personagens da Segunda Guerra falavam alemão, eles não eram, deixavam em alemão, assim, então tinha a visão de quem estava narrando aquela história. Eu queria saber como os europeus são retratados nos filmes americanos e como é que é esse mercado desses filmes europeus nos Estados Unidos hoje em dia, se é um mercado, uma fatia muito pequena.
Não, na verdade, um problema através de todas as coisas. Os Estados Unidos é o país que menos consome literatura ou arte ou cinema importado de todos os países do mundo. Todos os outros países recebem melhor a literatura e os trabalhos artísticos e os filmes de outros países. O americano não lê ou assiste muito pouca coisa estrangeira. Então, para que um americano vá assistir um filme estrangeiro e se senta aí e leia em inglês por 2 horas, não acontece muito. Então as pessoas, eu não gosto de ver filme estrangeiro, é tudo. Imagina o que o resto do mundo tem que fazer quando eles vão ver os filmes da gente. É tudo bom. Esqueci qual era a pergunta.
Como é que anda o mercado?
Ah, sim, os europeus. Os ingleses sempre são bem representados. Não, algumas vezes são representados como se foram todos meio snobby. Os franceses sempre são afeminados, os italianos sempre são super sexualizados, igual que os espanhóis e os portugueses. Então ainda também tem todo esse negócio de pessoas percebidas de uma maneira racista ou estereotípica.
Voltando à questão dos awards, a gente está falando do Oscar principalmente, mas se for pensar, o Festival de Cannes, Berlim, essas coisas, os filmes estrangeiros têm muito mais espaço por não serem da grande mídia, do monopólio. Tu acha que em algum momento esses festivais alternativos, porque eu não considero alternativo, acho que são tão grandes quanto o Oscar, mas em algum momento eles vão se sobrepor ao Oscar ou o Oscar vai ser majoritário eternamente?
Sim, essa é parte do debate que está acontecendo. enquanto que a indústria se muda mais hacia o filme global e esquece de como a habilidade para uma pessoa de fazer um filme novo e alternativo e moderno é diminuída. Tem muitos dos produtores e dos diretores que se estão mudando mais hacia Keynes, hacia esse tipo de coisa, e estão esquecendo mais o padrão de Hollywood. Então, isso está acrescentando se está, na verdade, criando duas audiências para ver filmes. As pessoas que querem o filme tradicional do Hollywood, o filme global, e as pessoas que preferem o filme mais autêntico, onde o diretor tem mais espaço para criar uma obra de arte única e moderna. Então, isso vai ser interessante o que acontece daqui a 30 ou 40 anos e como é, sei lá, vamos talvez ter dois tipos de teatros, um que ensina os filmes grandes e globais e outros que ensina os filmes, outro que mostra os filmes alternativos, mas que já vai ser considerado o filme mais comum nesse tempo. Não sei, vai ser interessante o que vai acontecer.
Olá. Quando você respondeu a pergunta do colega da frente dessa moça que acabou de falar, você disse, é por isso que eu não gosto de cotas. Você acha que foi que o 12 anos de escravidão receber aquele Oscar foi uma abertura de cotas?
Não.
Junto à academia? Gostaria que você explicasse melhor esse comentário.
Não acho que foi uma forma de cota. O filme esse, eu acho que todos nós podemos estar de acordo que foi o melhor filme desse ano. A cinematografia, a atuação, o conto, todo. A história era, eu acho, não tem ninguém no Hollywood que pode, de uma maneira honesta, argumentar de que esse filme não merecia ganhar. Mas o que eu não gosto é... Como posso explicar? Porque, por exemplo, eu fui à África do Sul uma vez e eles têm cotas raciais para tudo. E o único que isso tem feito é aumentar o nível de ódio entre as raças na África do Sul. Quando vemos uma pessoa como Mandela, o único que Mandela falava é que nós temos que perdoar e esquecer as ofensas que os brancos nos fizeram. É a única maneira de construir uma sociedade que pode avançar e que pode se reconstruir para o próximo século. Não podemos esquecer, não é correto, não podemos esquecer, mas temos que perdoar e manter a mente aberta para construir um melhor futuro. Eu sou muito da ideia de que temos que construir pontes e não paredes entre as pessoas. E quando vemos o que aconteceu nos Estados Unidos ontem, eu acho que é uma causa que vem a causa de uma longa história onde a gente não quer falar da raça, quer esquecer, quer tirar todos esses problemas no fundo, em vez de se enfrentar aos problemas e ter um debate social real sobre esse tipo de coisa. E as cotas, e quando vemos a questão afirmativa, eu acho que já, especialmente nas universidades, é tentando de arrumar um problema já quando está no seu fim. Não, temos que tentar de dar melhor educação e oportunidades desde o começo para todo mundo. Para que então ninguém possa descreditar o trabalho dos demais e os esforços e o trabalho. Todas as pessoas essas que trabalharam nesse filme, em Selma ou em 12 anos de escravo, todos eles foram descreditados. Vocês ganharam por isto ou por aquilo. Não, essas pessoas são todos profissionais que merecem ser tratados com a igualdade e o mesmo respeito que qualquer outra pessoa. Então, é um pouco ofensivo quando uma mulher ou quando uma pessoa de cor, quando um imigrante tem um grande logro, todo mundo responde: que bom, olha, essa mulher que fez isso. Não, ninguém deve. Essa pessoa, que bom, essa pessoa fez isso. Sabe? Não sei se isso responde.
Só gostaria de ouvir mais sobre o tema. Obrigada.
Nesse ano, a Indústria, ela ganhou um prêmio na França. E foi a primeira vez, se não me engano, que eles premiaram, acho que foi o César, uma atriz norte-americana. Eu queria saber se você acha que esse prêmio francês a uma atriz de talento questionável...
Talento diminuído.
Pode ser. Se é uma política de boa vizinhança ou vê nos Estados Unidos que eles estão premiando materiais americanos, então talvez eles possam abrir mais espaço para artistas estrangeiros dentro das premiações americanas.
Sim, essa é parte de todo esse problema de quando uma pessoa discrimina contra a outra, uma e então a outra em torno discrimina também, então terminamos discriminando um contra o outro em vez de tentar de arrumar a situação. Sim, nessas academias francesas, então, eles sempre têm preconceito em contra dos atores americanos, porque eles acham que Hollywood tem preconceito contra eles. Se eles queriam fazer algum tipo de coisa simbólica para representar isso, acho que eles deveriam ter escolhido ou um filme ou outra maneira de fazer isso. E a Kristen Stewart é uma atriz polêmica também nos Estados Unidos, mas ela também tem muitas outras coisas a ver com ela. Ela foi também bem demonized. Ela foi muito demonizada faz alguns anos, porque ela estava com esse cara mais tajuani como diretor do filme, e todo mundo demonizou dela de uma maneira que se ela for um homem, ninguém tiver falado dela assim. Então ela também, não sei, tem muito que ver aí com ela.
Eu queria saber qual foi a reação dos americanos ao Dallas Buyers Club, por exemplo, e ao Selma, que são filmes que não seriam vistos como tradicionais americanos fora dos Estados Unidos.
Eu acho que são tradicionais. O filme de que apresenta uma parte da sociedade de uma maneira muito real, que faz que as pessoas pensem e repensem sobre eles, como eles pensam de uma polêmica social. Isso é uma coisa muito americana. E muitas das mudanças na sociedade dos Estados Unidos tem, em parte, são porque filmes e livros que fazem esse tipo de coisa. O Dallas Buyers Club, a parte que eu não gostei é que, como muitas coisas que mostram a pessoas gays, eu acho que eles tinham muito foco sobre o sexo. Tudo, o cara sempre anda louco, o McConaughey. Qual é o primeiro nome dele? Matthew McConaughey. Ainda que ele tem HIV, ele sempre está tentando procurar sexo no filme inteiro. E tive o filme, eu acho que mostrou muito a sexualidade da cultura gay, mas não mostrou a política e os problemas políticos que aconteceram durante esse período, quando a administração Reagan completamente ignorou o problema e decidiu de que todas essas pessoas mereciam morrer porque eles eram pecadores. E isso não é uma coisa que o filme mostrou, que eu acho que é uma dimensão muito importante de por que pessoas como Matthew McConaughey ou o personagem de Matthew McConaughey terminaram tendo que quebrar a lei e importar medicinas e remédios ilegais do México. O Selma, toda a polêmica do Selma era que o filme caracterizou o presidente Johnson de uma maneira errada. Era o crítico, mas eu que assisti o filme e a maioria dos historiadores que viram o filme, eu acho que caracterizaram ele de como ele era. A maioria dos presidentes durante esse período, Kennedy, Johnson, Ford, Nixon, eles queriam ajudar e eles queriam melhorar a situação racial no país, mas eles tinham um congresso que não queria fazer isso. E tinha uma guerra, e tinha muitas outras coisas acontecendo na sociedade. Então, para eles dar tanto esforço e tanta energia política para os problemas raciais que estavam acontecendo no país era difícil, porque eles também tinham muitas outras coisas para fazer. Mas o filme mostra bem de como pessoas como Martin Luther King demandaram que os presidentes durante esse período deram a atenção que se merecia a um grande problema que uma grande parte da sociedade estava vivendo.
Eu ia te perguntar se tu chegou a ver o Normal Heart. É porque ele tem uma temática bem parecida com o Dallas Buyers, só que ele fala um pouco mais das políticas, da questão da completa, do governo ignorando completamente o fato de que a comunidade homossexual estava morrendo
moscas, todo mundo morrendo o tempo todo, todos os dias morrendo vários, e eles ignoravam completamente.
Sim, eu nunca ouvi desse programa, mas esse é um período bem interessante. Por exemplo, tem uma vez, quando a pandemia primeiro do HIV começa, o presidente Reagan se reúne com todos os melhores doutores e médicos dos Estados Unidos, e todos eles falam: você tem que falar para o povo de que não se pode contrair HIV comendo num restaurante ou usando um banheiro público. Isso não é possível. Você tem que acalmar o povo, porque aqui temos todas essas pesquisas científicas que comprovam isto e que demonstram isso. E o presidente Reagan respondeu: eu não acredito. E ele saiu e ele dá um discurso depois dessa reunião. Ele fala: todos temos que ter cuidado. Qualquer pessoa pode contratar HIV a qualquer momento. E tive um período nos 80, foi como 3 ou 4 meses, onde ninguém saía de casa, ninguém comia em restaurantes, ninguém usava banheiros públicos, porque tinha medo de contrair essa doença. E foi toda a culpa de um presidente republicano que ignorou as pesquisas e os médicos e a ciência total. E quando um show e tal mostra esse período e não mostra esse aspecto do que aconteceu, eu acho que é pouco falta de respeito.
Seguindo na linha dos direitos gays, eu pensei aqui em produções que falam sobre isso, pensar no Normal Heart, do Dallas Buyers Club, Milk, e recentemente, tu falou do House of Cards, tem um episódio que tá o cara lá na Rússia, preso, protestando. Não seria uma janela sendo aberta para se discutir mais questões políticas mesmo do movimento gay? Acho que Hollywood não está dando uma oportunidade, ou pelo menos pincelando um pouco essa parte do ativismo político quanto aos direitos gays.
Sim, muitas por exemplo, de que a Ellen sair e falar que ela é lésbica, isso causou uma mudança grande na sociedade. E o Hollywood tem seus momentos de nobilidade, onde eles fazem alguma coisa, e não somente com o movimento gay, mas com outros movimentos, onde eles ajudam a causa e eles criam uma janela e uma oportunidade para ter um diálogo social. Mas tem muitas outras vezes onde eles não fazem isso, e isso é o que incomoda muitas pessoas. O Glee também foi muito importante. Mostraram o primeiro beijo entre dois homens na televisão, num show que todo mundo estava assistindo, e também foi uma coisa muito polêmica, como o que aconteceu aqui com uma novela faz pouco tempo. E sim, Hollywood sempre está criando essas oportunidades, mas eu acho que está chegando ao ponto onde a sociedade dos Estados Unidos está demandando que isso aconteça mais. E, por exemplo, a indústria, com tudo o que aconteceu em Ferguson e tudo isso, a indústria estava muda. Não falou nada por muito do tempo quando estava acontecendo. Última pergunta, depois vamos almoçar.
Tu não achas que o conservadorismo da indústria é só também um reflexo da sociedade? Porque em todas as perguntas tu responde que a sociedade é que tem que demandar esse tipo de mudança, e como a sociedade ela não demanda esse tipo de mudança, a indústria acaba só reproduzindo aquilo que já tem sido feito durante todo esse tempo. Então, não seria um problema mais político e educacional de que desde a primeira infância o ser humano deveria ser educado a construir esse pensamento de respeito à diversidade? E então a sociedade poderia começar a demandar esse tipo de mudança na cultura e na arte?
Sim, essa é uma questão bem interessante. Eu me lembro quando eu era estudante nas escolas públicas nos Estados Unidos, que eles ensinavam para a gente: vocês não podem ter sexo com camisinha, vocês ainda vão todos morrer, tem que todos aguardar até que vocês todos estejam casados para ter sexo. Eu me lembro quando eu tinha 12 anos, o debate presidencial entre John Kerry e George Bush, onde os caras ficaram por como 10 minutos. Não, eu odeio mais os gays. Não, eu odeio mais os gays. Não, eu odeio mais os gays. Não, eu sou quem odeia mais os gays. Então, a sociedade nos Estados Unidos é muito conservadora, até hoje em dia. Eu sempre fico apavorado quando eu ando andando pela Ulisses, sempre tem tantas pessoas se beijando no meio da universidade. Isso nunca acontece nos Estados Unidos. Nos Estados Unidos é ainda uma sociedade muito puritânica e muito conservadora. Mas, com isso falado, o fato de que temos um presidente afro-americano que já falou que ele está a favor do casamento gay, tudo isso tem mudado muito a sociedade. Então, eu acho que minha geração e todas as pessoas jovens dos Estados Unidos estão reclamando e demandando uma mudança maior da que tem acontecido nos últimos anos. Eu acho que a sociedade cada dia é menos conservadora do que antes, mas ainda tem muito mais tempo e vai tomar muito mais esforço e sempre vamos estar em todos os países trabalhando para melhorar todos os problemas sociais desse tipo. Obrigado a todos vocês por assistir.